Now to Indonesia, where three powerful earthquakes have struck in the past 24 hours. The strongest, a magnitude 7.7 quake off the island of Flores, killed at least 47 people, triggering landslides and small tsunamis, and forced thousands from their homes. More than 235 aftershocks followed, including one measuring 6.2 on the Richter scale, as rescuers struggled to reach remote communities. Now, a second major quake measuring 6.9 struck North Sumatra, but caused no immediate reports of casualties or significant damage. And a third magnitude 6 tremor hit the Minahasa Peninsula. That's according to Germany's GFZ Research Center. There was no immediate tsunami warning associated with either of those northern quakes. Let's bring in Jamie Smith-Maillet for the latest here, joining us from the International Affairs Desk. Jamie, you are the perfect person to speak to right now. You've just literally in the past 24 hours returned from Indonesia. I believe you were even in some of these spots where the epicenters were just a couple of 100 meters away. I mean, what do we know about these quakes today, and have you had any more? I'm sure you'll get to that, but have you had any more reaction from people you've spoken to?
Yeah, indeed. I was actually on the island of Flores just a week ago, and I was in the city of Momir, which we've talked about a lot today. Actually, was a city that was struck 100 kilometers or so west of the epicenter on the island of Flores. And you were mentioning there as well, Jean-Emile, that there were other two significant quakes that have been noted today across the archipelago of 17,000 islands. A firm reminder as well that it sits on the Pacific ring of fire, as we can see there, of the Indonesian earthquakes and volcanoes. Now, what we know of as well of Flores with that 7.7 magnitude quake that we've been following throughout the day is that it struck locally at around 6 a.m. This morning, just as people were waking up. It had a depth of 10 kilometers, which is a relatively shallow quake. That means the shallower the quake, the more impact it may have on infrastructure and on buildings. Now, a lot of the images that we can see here are from both the cities of Labuan Bajo to the west of the island, known notably by a lot of tourists who travel there to go to the Komodo National Park just west of that. But really closer to the epicenter, the cities of Ende and Momir, a lot of damage to buildings. We know from figures being reported today that 160 buildings have been damaged, collapsed or partially collapsed, and the death toll currently sitting at 47, which rose from around 20 earlier today. Now, I actually did catch up with someone I met when I was there in a hotel, Didicus, who is a hotel owner who has a hotel just near that city of Momir. He as well, he spoke to me earlier, and he was a survivor of the 1992 quake that struck the island of Flores, which actually killed some 2,200 people. Now, here's what he had to say earlier on.
I felt my bed was shaken, moving quite strong, and then I realized that that's an earthquake. They put the alarm for tsunami. I think twice they put the alarm, and we saw this morning also with the family, with some neighbors, and we saw the water went out quickly, maybe 15-20 meters outside, and then came back quickly also.
Astonishing to actually hear from your associate there. I mean, just in real time, and you just get a sense of how it can impact communities, but also businesses and just everyone on the islands. It is a precarious island at that. I mean, all of the islands in Indonesia sitting on that ring of fire. So naturally, you would think to yourself that they would have the sufficient warning systems, because this is not an isolated event. We've had 3 earthquakes in the past 24 hours, just to prove that point. So how prepared are these places?
Yeah, absolutely. Some will say, and international organizations looking at Indonesia and other places along that ring of fire would say, well, things have improved significantly in the last decade, notably in the last 2 decades. And that really harks back at the 2004 earthquake, which is the 26th of December, 2004, which struck heavily Indonesia. But we probably remember that quake as well for the entire region, the Indo-Pacific region, from Thailand as well, notably Sri Lanka. Indonesia, the area of Sumatra to the north of Indonesia, we can see here just across from the Gulf with Malaysia and Singapore, was particularly hard hit, and there were some 170,000 deaths recorded in 2004. So what that then did trigger in many ways was new systems being brought into place, monitoring systems, notably for the effects not just of the quake but of the tsunami. And there was the tsunami in 2004 that left so many dead, 30-meter high waves that struck at that point. So today there is a much stronger, many will say, monitoring system in place, but also comes down to education and educating local populations of what to do when quakes strike, but also notably what to do in preparation for a potential tsunami. And that's what we heard today, as I spoke earlier there to Didicus, who said that, well, he got alerts on the application on his telephone. So technology has helped today in many ways to prepare people, but also just simply the education of knowing to move to higher ground, which was not the message, tragically, in 2004. And international organizations still do say, the UN notably, still critical of that point, saying, well, actually, the education is not being implemented right down to all the populations, notably in more rural areas as well, those who live along the coast in the area. So while things have improved, there's still some way to go in islands like Flores.
I still remember in 2004 stories of a 10-year-old at least alerting the beach because she had read some warnings of what a tsunami could look like with the beach receding. And I'm sure that kind of education will be very much available to the people of Indonesia if and when it is implemented. But well, Jamie, thank you so much. And we will keep our track on the Flores incident. Of course, that number is feared to rise as the rubble searching efforts continue. Now to Spain, where